Okay, you should be okay.
Okay, great. Well, we're going to go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining us on Zoom. Matt, how do I find my presentation again?
Oh,
Wait,
are you
okay.
going to start with
Oh,
your presentation?
yeah.
All
Oh, it's
right,
right there. Oh,
it's right there.
I should have just looked.
Yep, and then just make sure to in your screen sharing. Yep, you're good.
I'm good?
Yeah, it looks like it. Are you done? It's done. Oh, you're right. Yeah, go hit screen sharing,
Oh,
which is here. Uh, to share screen, share. Now you should be able to do it. Yep, that's working now, right? Yes. And
okay.
then just the forward and back.
Okay, great.
It's
Oh, yeah, because I can kind of hear a little echo over there. But okay. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for coming on Zoom. And if you're watching this in recording, thanks for watching it. So, Todd and I are just going to share a little bit about our derelict crab pot removal project. We're kind of right in the midst of it. We just finished doing the sonar mapping, and now I think as we speak, our retrieval team is out there pulling pots because they were supposed to come tonight, but I think maybe if weather is good, they're hey Russ. I think they're pulling, so hopefully they're getting lots. All right, so this is the sonar image, and that's what it looks like when you see crab pot. We weren't quite sure until we saw one. We're like, oh yeah, that's what a crab pot looks like.
So is it that little
Yeah, that's it.
blur? Okay.
There, I have lots of different pictures, so you'll get to see lots of different images of it. Okay, so just a little background. So, derelict crab pot is just an abandoned or lost crab pot. Can't imagine that many people have abandoned them. So I think mostly they're lost for lots of different reasons. Maybe other names you've heard is ghost pot or ghost gear or ghost trap. And um, they can become derelict or ghost gear for lots of different reasons. One thing that we've noticed when we're scanning is sometimes it is like right where there is a shelf, like you were talking about, Matt, like where it gets deeper and with tides that can sink the buoy, and so the pot gets lost that way. Um, I think lines do accidentally get cut by boat traffic. Or like in some of the places we've been, we've definitely seen lots of rocks or other debris that pots can get caught up on. And now, especially after mapping this, there's some areas where I'm like, oh, pots could just get caught up on other pots because there's some areas where there's a lot of them. And then depending on the area too, they fill with sand. So just lots of different reasons why they get lost. So it is a problem because so far, we haven't found any that are ghost fishing, but this can be an issue, so they can continue to fish. Most of them have like a biodegradable thread. You probably all know this, that the door opens and um, whatever's caught in there can get out. But they just continue to be, they can continue to be a hazard, especially if they get tumbled around and continue to fish. Of course, not good for underwater habitats. Um, and also, like I was saying, this can be bad for both commercial and subsistence fishing because it can hook up other pots, um, and just, cause more litter on our ocean floor. So I tried to do a little research and see what else is happening in Alaska, and not a lot of derelict crab pot removal because as we're learning, it's tricky, and it takes a lot of problem solving, and we've kind of been designing a method that I think we have down pretty well now. But Douglas Indian Association and NOAA did a derelict crab pot cleanup in 2016 through 2018. And then I'm pretty sure Alaska Department of Fish and Game has an ongoing research project about derelict crab pots and the impacts of them. And so our project is 2 years. So we just finished our sonar mapping. And like I said, our recovery team is now out there pulling pots, and we will. Um, that will continue, I think, through next week, and then we'll be done. Well, it kind of depends if our weather is good for it, but and then we'll do it again next year. So this is why it's really important people let us know where you've lost pots because that will kind of direct where we go for the mapping. And yeah, it's just happening in our area, so just the Upper Lynn Canal. So far, we've only done the town side, but I'm curious what might be on the other side too. Okay, I'm actually not going to show. This was like a little inspirational video. I think I don't want to show it though. Okay, okay, there we go. I want to talk more about what we're doing. Although that was kind of a cool video, and yeah, you could look it up online, but there's lots of information about what's happening in Canada. The government is actually paying for derelict crab pot removal, and so they have lots of funding, and they're doing these huge projects. In the Gulf of St. Lawrence, they have a problem. I think it's the snow crab, so those crab pots are huge, and the right whales migrate through there, and they get hooked up in the crab pots. So they're trying to pull up the crab pots to save the whales. So this is our team. So Todd is operating the ROV and the side scan sonar. Myself, my husband from Chilkoot Indian Association. Justin Mittman has been driving the boat, which has been great. And Eric Lemke is kind of our guy who's directing us where to go, since he works in the crab fisheries and he's known where we should go to find pots. So it's been a great team. I feel like everybody brings a really great set of skills. So I kind of just wanted to show you guys what we're doing through videos, because I feel like that's the best way to show it. So we'll start with just what it takes to get the gear all loaded. Because this is not all of Todd's equipment. He also has giant cases full of the cables for both the ROV and the side scan sonar. So we had to do a little bit of gear shuffling. Oh yeah, that's right. The generator. Yeah, there's a generator. There's like a big computer system. Oops. So now, what do I just do?
I think if you just keep on using that forward button, like it should just keep on advancing the video.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. So this is, I just won't make them big, maybe. This is, so Todd here is putting in the side scan sonar. And maybe Todd, I'll let you describe a little bit about how the sonar works.
Do we have an image of the computer?
Yes. Should I go to that next? Yeah, I do have an image.
Most of them show correctly, but
Hold on, let's see what this video is, and then I think. Oh yeah, okay, so here's kind of a good, oh my gosh, the volume on this. I really do wish you guys could hear this, because it's like the generator is just like rumbling the whole time.
here's the,
Yeah.
so what we're trying to do,
Here, I'll go to another picture after this video. I think I have a good one after this.
we're trying to get as close to the ocean bottom as possible without dragging the bottom.
There we go.
And this right here, these black lines, this is right side of the sonar, left side, these black lines indicate basically how high above the bottom you
Okay,
are.
Is that better? I don't know.
Yeah, it still works.
Okay.
So here we're getting pretty high off the bottom. As this gets wider and wider as we move along, we would tell Eric, let out more line until this closed up a bit more. That way we get more of a view of the actual bottom. So here's a crab pot we came across. All this sparkly stuff in here, this is due to the gain not being set properly. You can see it's kind of peaking a lot right here, and you get these bright, shiny dots in it. This is what we're looking for, more like this, just a nice gradual slope, the near gain, the far gain. Yeah.
Yeah, and so no sonar on the bottom of it. So it was a lot of like figuring out like how to get it low enough that we're getting good images, but if we got too low, then it kind of distorts the images and it would be hard to identify them. And then also, if there's stuff on the bottom, like Tysenko was a little bit tricky because there's a lot of big things down there that we wanted to avoid. We didn't want to this unit over here is called the towfish, and we didn't want to run the towfish into any rocks or other debris.
How deep is some of the area? Or how deep can this thing go?
Oh,
The tide scan sonar will go down 500 feet. The ROV will do 1,000 feet.
and I think what was the deepest we did? 140? 140 to 160?
Somewhere around there.
We noticed that one of the issues we had, and it was probably because we were at the Catahine with current here, we had a hard time getting it low enough because it would start to kind of flag up when we were towing it at deeper levels. So we had our most luck at like 60 feet. I
Yeah,
feel like we were
going
getting our
pretty slow, 1 to 2 knots. Yeah, but it
Mhm,
would still sometimes with that current, you'd see that line go way up like that.
mhm.
Yeah,
But you see lots of other things too. We saw lots of fish swimming under, which at first it was like a little confusing what those were, but they look like these big blobs of fish
yep.
coming through. Yeah. That's when we know we were too far up because we were looking at ocean instead of ocean floor.
They put it in the. With the tides going up and down, it ends up floating away. Or it gets.
That can happen.
Yeah, but they're supposed to put enough line out to account for the tides.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if they don't, the thing floats away.
Yeah.
And then when once it drops, it can get down to like where it's 1,000 feet, right? Or 60 feet.
Yeah, if the float's not enough to keep the crab pot off the bottom,
It's not sink.
right?
And I think I think that is a problem here, is that the float's not keeping the buoy, the pot is too heavy for the buoy. And so if it is right on that ledge and it gets just the right current or tide, it can pull it over and then drop it, and then it's not long enough line. Those ones are actually, we get excited when we see those ones in the sonar because if they have a line still attached, they're easier for us to get. So,
And so then to get them, you have a hook or something?
oh yes, phase 2
Okay.
of the project. No, perfect question. So these are the areas that we've mapped so far. So quite a bit, actually. We've really done a lot here with the, can I turn that little marker thing off there?
Yeah, it's actually not on super, but.
Oh, it's not. Oh. Oh,
Yay.
thanks. Okay, so yeah, so we've just been on town side. We've gone through the Catahine now. Several, like, what did we do? We did 30 feet, 60 feet, 140 feet.
All in between.
Yeah, a lot of zigzagging back and forth through the Catahine because we were finding a lot of pots in that area. Tricky, here I'll point on, can you see my mouse here? This area here where the river mouth is, really tricky because it gets shallow really quick, which is scary with the towfish. We didn't want to ram it into anything. A lot of silt coming through there, so if there are lost pots, they're going to get silted up quick. So either they're already buried or we're going to have a really hard time getting them out of there. So that zone's a little tricky. Yeah.
When they're buried. Pick it up.
They're fully buried now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
It's called geologic record.
But they do have what's called a magnetometer that will hook up to this so you can find buried items like that.
And Eric, who's kind of leading the recovery portion of the project, has some really creative ideas. I mean, if we can't see it, we're not gonna be able to get it. But if we try for a pot and can't get it because it's partially buried in silt, he's got some ideas about being able to run hose down and like power wash it underwater. Yeah, to get the silt out. He's very creative. So maybe they are even going to try that today. I don't know. But yeah, almost all these areas we have found, and yeah, actually I think all these areas, except for maybe down here in Lutak, I don't think we found any pots down there, but everywhere else we found pots. Our biggest concentrations being Catahine and Tysanka. Okay, so removal. So Eric designed this like long string of grapple hooks. What is it, every 20 feet he has?
Like 7 hooks.
Okay. Yeah. And then he's got kind of these metal pieces on the end to help it kind of drag, but he also adds weights. So it's the same thing. It's like finding the right balance of not wanting to drag it across the ocean floor because we don't want to disrupt the ocean floor. We want it to be just hovering above. So it's scooping, hopefully those lines is what we'd like to try to get. I was out with them one day when they went out for just a few hours to try it out and they had luck. They did grab up one of those lines. Which I have a video I'll show you here in just a little bit. But yeah, so far it's working pretty good. I think in some areas where it's really sandy, I think it would be okay to drag it on the bottom, but we're just trying to be really mindful of protecting the ocean floor too as we're removing these. So here they are in the boat, getting it all ready to load, and you can see here that this is where they're adding weights to the rope. So they wanted to just try to get the right weight that it would sink far enough that it would snatch up those buoys. Let's see. So see, they're letting the line out, and then they tie it off on the sides of the boat so that that way it spans out. So we get the biggest area of having those grapple hooks kind of combing through the water. And part of this is that we can't get an exact GPS point on the pots. Like if we find them on the sonar, we have the GPS in the boat, but there's no sonar or there's no GPS underwater. Is that correct? Yeah.
Yeah, and the towfish is a few hundred feet behind us.
So then what I'm hearing is that we do sonar first, and then we put the grapple hook to pull it up.
Oh, no. Nope. So what we did was we had a total 4 days, although it was just, here and there where we could squeeze it in with good weather, of mapping. So then we're collecting. So what we were doing is we would collect the GPS point from the boat. We would collect the heading. Yep, the speed of the boat, the time, the distance of line that we had out, the depth of the water. So that way we can calculate and get as close as we can to pinpointing where that pot is. The other part that's really useful is we're tracking our line. So you can see here, this is on Eric's phone. There's our track line, the line going up, and then these are all the pots. So they're not exactly there because that's where the boat was, but using all that data that we've collected, plus being on the track, he knows when we should set out the grapple hooks to pull. So it's a whole separate, so now we're done with the mapping and now they're out there for the next 4 days pulling pots. Yep. Because I had the same idea, Maggie. I actually imagined that too. I thought like we'd just be sonaring along, like there's one right there.
Right, just pull it up.
But this method seems to be working pretty well. Okay, so here they had just got the line. So this is a line attached to a derelict crab pot. The grapple hook snatched it. And then they can just pull it up that way.
You need a winch because they're heavy.
Yeah, super heavy. Well, and also here in this next one, you'll see a lot of them are full of silt.
Right, because I remember we did a beach cleanup and it was over by the Takshanuk and it was low tide. And
Yeah.
we found a crab pot just half sticking up.
Oh yeah.
And it was like crazy hard to get that thing out.
Just fill this.
We actually did.
Yeah.
We put-
Yeah.
stuck it up.
And we had one where the image looked amazing. It was like this perfect looking crab pot with this long line. We snagged it and it must be really buried because the whole boat kind of shifted a little bit. Like, okay, let that one go.
Okay.
So some of them are sometimes the boat's not even strong enough to pull them up.
So
Oops.
that hose thing actually sounds like a good idea.
I think so. I'm excited to hear how that goes. Yeah, So there you can see this one has probably been out there for a while.
Is the fence still, I mean, are these? Or are they going into the dump?
Um,
You'd have to rewire it.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, the goal is that if we can identify who owns it, it will go back to the owner. Because we want, of course, to give people back their property. If it's, unidentifiable, then in a good pot still, I don't know what we'll do, but we'll come up with some idea, maybe help fund this project. And then the ones that are just totally destroyed, the Ocean Conservancy is paying to backhaul all of our debris this year. And so it will be part of that for recycling and upcycling.
So are we charging, like, as you do the owner of these pots, do we
Yeah.
charge the owners for losing their for not having enough
Mm.
fluid to hold it up?
I mean, no, we're not charging people
Okay.
because I think it's mostly accidents. And and we're trying to, yeah, so this is all funded through Alaska Sea Grant. So we have adequate funding to pay for our time and hiring Todd to use his equipment and the boat. So for 2 years we're well funded. I'm not sure. Well, I guess what I'm hoping is that people will report their lost pots because we probably won't be able to continue to do sonar every year, but we could if we know where they are, maybe hire Eric or someone in the commercial fleet to do a drag maybe once or twice a year to try to pull up pots. So
Once crab season starts, and these are like neighbors and stuff, they're like, yeah, we can't crab when the commercial guys go out there, they'll cut our.
yeah, I don't know. I think that's I mean, that to me doesn't seem very smart because those pots, if they got cut, would still be fishing. So they would be losing out. So I don't get that feeling that that's what's happening. I think that people accidentally run over lines. I could see that being a pretty easy thing. Or, I was just talking to someone today and it's like some of them, people put their pots pretty close to a small boat harbor, and there's some big boats that come in and out of there. Or like if you're too close to where the ferry goes, like I think it's mostly accidents. I don't think anyone's purposely cutting lines. Uh, yeah.
When I heard that.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Look, crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so our hope is not to punish people for losing their pots, but just to work with the public and then hopefully create more education about how we can lose less pots too, like having long enough line, making sure that you're, you know exactly where you're setting your pot so you're not like risking falling off into the deeper water. So oh yeah, so these are some great images. This is the one that like it just looks like we saw that and we're like, no problem, we can get that one. And we got hooked, we could not get this one. We'll go back maybe with a bigger boat, but
That's one. Cool.
yeah, this one must be really snagged in there. And I actually wonder too this if this is a second pot right here, maybe. Yeah, up on its side. One thing that Todd taught us is to really look for these shadows. That helps a lot with trying to identify the pots. I mean, these are like varying, good pictures. And this one, maybe is like a sport pot here. And I was looking, this looks like a barrel over here. And then this, we might have been a little high, but that's probably a pot too. But when we're just perfect, we'll get these nice shadows and you can really tell that it's a pot. So should I admit people in the waiting room, Joe?
Oh, somebody else.
Yes, our next presenter. How are we doing? Oh, it's almost her turn. Okay, I can let her in. Really quickly, I just want to show you all how you can report lost pots. So the preferred method is using this Google form. At first I was saying, you can call me or email me, and it's been very popular. People have been wanting to report their pots, and actually I got overwhelmed. So the best thing you can do is, I thought it would pop up here. That's the right one.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's trying. It's a really easy Google form, but the more information you can share, the more likely that we can recover it. Well, I shouldn't say that. We'll do our best, but also it can be a little hard to identify. Like so far, the pots we've pulled, we can't identify whose pots they are, and they're pretty old too. I don't know if anyone would want them back. But if there is any way to identify it, or if you tell us exactly where it is and we find it in that exact spot, then we'll return it to you. Well, if there was a name on the buoy.
And so the buoy wasn't strong enough, so it sank with the
Yeah, that would probably be the most likely way. Well, for some reason it's not working, but this link does work, this tiny URL. Or you can email me, and what I'll do is I'll just send that link to this Google form, because I think that will be the best way for us to keep track of where derelict crab pots are. And like I said, we're done doing the mapping for this year, but we'll be back out doing it again next April. So if we have an idea of where people have lost pots, that'll kind of direct our search.
So if somebody, because I don't crab, but my neighbors do, and I could tell them, hey, you could go on to Takshanuk or Tracy at Takshanuk
Yeah,
and just email her and tell her where you lost your pot.
sure. And actually, that's a great idea. I'll just put a link right on the front of our website too.
Okay, perfect.
So that way, if they just go to our website, can easily report there too.
There's some.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah.
And they tell me these horrors. And I could tell them now, I don't know, I went to this talk and they didn't think so. They think it's accidents. You can go here and see if you can get your
Yeah.
pot back.
Yeah. I mean, it can't hurt anything. You might as well report them, and you never know. We might find them.
Right, perfect.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks. Thanks everyone for attending, and thanks for those of you who came on Zoom. Any other questions about our project? Thank you, Todd, for bringing in all this equipment.
Yeah.
So if you find a pot that's like tied to the bottom somehow, you can put on your little robot here, little cutters.
They're not actually cutters, they're
Pinchers.
Maybe I could hold a knife in it and move it back and forth.
Oh, that would be cool.
That's all. Something so.
Well, our vision for the ROV, because it has a little arm, is, and we didn't get to try this out this year, but maybe next year, is putting like being able to like put a little clip on the crab pots so that we could flag them, maybe with like a cork line buoy, something that stood out as being different, because then we wouldn't have to guess where the pots are. We'd know exactly where it was. So we didn't get to experiment with that this year, but we might try that next year. For those of you on Zoom, this is what the equipment looks like.
There, I have two real
See it?
lights,
Oh, it's like a little submarine.
and it has lights around the side too.
Okay.
You know, and the nice thing about side scanning sonar is it works even in the middle of the night.
Oh, it does, yeah.
You
I
don't
wonder
get,
why it
like,
wasn't flowing up here.
And if it's sending out, like 2-degree beam that of sonar that bounce back to the receiver.
An error message
Yes,
because
and
it
what-
is that
let's go with-
URL shortener
It does, so
can
this
be
is
like
this is like a camera.
used by as
Sonar.
whatnot.
These
So
things right here was-
it,
Yeah.
because it was
One
going through the
big
URL shortener,
One was
the
the
URL,
that.
it, I had to like override my to get through it.
Interesting.
So
Yeah, we did see fish, and then even if you look here, maybe, it, I mean, you can see the shadows here, it's bouncing off the rocks, the signals are uneven surface,
Okay.
it bounces off everything. And
Yeah.
if we were using, 600 kilohertz here.
Yeah, easy and then clear. And clear.
We were using 600 kilohertz here. This will do 1200 kilohertz too. So then what that means is that it'll see the spokes on a bicycle tire.
That's right here.
And it reaches out farther. Here we're reaching out 33 feet on each side. So cover approximately 60-some feet. With the 1200, you use that to search for bigger objects like a plane, a boat.
Mm. Oh, because they'd be bigger, they'd stand out bigger.
Yeah.
That we had to kind of narrow. We tried one of the bigger searches, and then the pots show up too small.
Yeah.
So we had to have a smaller, narrower search in order to be able to identify pots.
So who's sharing next?
Hava and Nicole. Are they both here? Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. So can I hit stop share? Okay. All right. Oh, there they are. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Hava. All right. Sorry, we're running a
Hello.
little, but I'm
No
gonna hand it
worries.
over to you. And then I'll flip my camera around so you can see the folks that are here.
Okay.
Um, so
Nicole, does
yeah.
it, oh,
Yeah.
it probably makes sense for me to go first. Is that, I think, the plan, yeah? Does that work?
So Hava is with Ocean
So weird.
Conservancy, and she's helping us figure out how we're going to backhaul all of our debris. And then Nicole is with Net Your Problem. And so they're just going to share kind of the story of what will happen to our marine debris after we sort it and we send it out. Okay, so I'll hand it off to you.
Thanks. And I have a presentation, so I'll share my screen if hopefully that works for
I
everyone to
think so. I think they
see.
just made you
Okay.
presenter.
All right, let me. Oh, of course, it went way ahead. Sorry. Hold, give me a minute here. Okay, can everyone see that?
Yeah, we can see it.
We're good?
Yeah, it's in
Okay.
the present mode now. Yep.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. Again, my name is Hava. I work for Ocean Conservancy as the marine debris specialist. And today we'll be talking about connecting collection of marine debris to disposal and backhaul in Alaska.
Next.
And so I'm going to cover quite a bit in 15 minutes or so. I'll introduce myself and OC, which I think most of you are probably familiar with OC, so I'll kind of breeze through that. I'll talk a little bit about Alaska Marine Debris projects, and then I'll spend most of the time talking about our backhaul project, which Tracy mentioned. Very excited to be backhauling Haynes debris this year. And then I'll look ahead into this coming summer, where else we're working throughout the state. Okay, again, my name is Hava. I split my time between Juneau and Yakutat. I grew up surfing and commercial fishing around Southeast, and so this really led me to pursue a degree in fisheries. And I spent the last 5 years working for the Yakutat Tlingit tribe as a fisheries biologist. And as part of that program, I worked on several marine debris projects in Yakutat, and so that was my introduction into this work. It showed me how important and fun this type of work is, and so I transitioned into my current role just in July of 2025 into OC. So still fairly new, almost a year. So a quick OC overview. We're a 501c3 nonprofit. We're an ocean advocacy and policy organization, and we work with communities around the world on many ocean issues, marine debris being one of them. And Ocean Conservancy has been involved in marine debris for 40 years through the ICC, International Coastal Cleanup. It's the largest volunteer effort for ocean health, and it mobilizes hundreds of thousands of people per year that collect and record data. And so while we do work globally, my work focuses here in Alaska. And this is a list of cleanups that we have helped support through funding. This is not a complete list of cleanups that happened this previous year. We support in other ways, but this is just a list of projects that we've helped fund. And usually the local community partner is the one leading these projects. And most of you probably already know my wonderful colleague, Christina. She is kind of the cleanup lead, the cleanup side of things, and I am on the backhaul side of things. And so to get into how we started working in backhaul, I first want to talk about a couple cleanups that we have been involved in that led us to pursue backhaul funding. And so the first being the Yakutat cleanup that happened in 2022 through 2023. And this was funded through NOAA through the city and borough of Yakutat. And I thought this project would be really fun to highlight because there are so many Haines people that were part of this project. So I put plenty of photos of Haines faces. So I thought that would be fun. And the Yakutat Tlingit tribe was involved, and then Ocean Conservancy as well. But highlighted here are the 5 beach sites that we cleaned, and this is covering 50 miles of coastline. So you can see it's pretty remote beaches, so it was very, very challenging, and Kevin Forrester was the lead on this. Very grateful for him and his skill set here. Let's see, I've been having a hard time going to the next slide. There we go. Okay, so it was a total of 5 weeks of cleanup. We covered 50 miles of it, as I said, and we collected just over 21,000 pounds of debris. And we had 30 participants, 3 of them being youth, Haines youth, actually. So that was very fun. And this was, as I mentioned, very logistically challenging. So was really grateful to have Kevin on board and a lot of Haines folks. They brought a lot of great expertise. We had 1 helicopter, 2 jet boats, 1 DC-3 plane that brought debris back to Yakutat, which is that big plane in the middle that actually landed on a dried up riverbed. So that was really, really neat to see. 4 small plane rides, 3 different 4-wheelers, had to put those into small planes, and many, many cups of coffee to get this all done. All right, short intermission of wonderful Haines people picking up debris in Yakutat. Just over 3,000 pounds of buoys collected. A lot of net in line. That's kind of the bulk of the debris. This is a photo of our sorting session. I think this is pretty impressive photo of the plastic bottles we found. Took a while to count, as you can imagine. But it took a whole week for us to sort the whole 21,000 pounds, so it was a lot of work. More Haines faces, just kind of fun pictures that I wanted to share. Really wonderful crew. You bond pretty quickly when you're out in these remote settings, so yes. All right, and the next cleanup I want to highlight is also in Yakutat, and this just started this last summer in 2025. But we received, Ocean Conservancy received funding in 2024 through NOAA's Large Marine Debris Program, and YTT received a subaward through us to fund 3 years of cleanup. And so 2025, we did our first cleanup at a road accessible site called Ankow. Let's see, I keep having to move this around. Okay, it was 1 week of cleanup, 5 miles of beach cleaned, just over 4,500 pounds collected, 56 participants. And this was a special project because I'm sure, as you know, being in Haines, in a small community, you need many organizations to get a project like this done. So we had kind of all hands on deck from many community organizations. So pretty special. And the debris that we collected in 2025 joined the 21,000 pounds that was collected in 2022 and 2023 at the Yakutat landfill. And the only option for local disposal in Yakutat was to burn this whole pile of debris that we had just done all this work to collect. And so similarly in Haines, we don't have landfills that have capacity to deal with debris that washes up on shore that our communities didn't make, right? So I know Haines has an aging landfill, and Yakutat, yeah, just doesn't have the capacity to recycle and take on this amount of debris. It's pretty impressive, this picture, all of it together, almost 30,000 pounds. So, and this isn't just in Yakutat, this is, many communities across the state, different communities, same challenges. What do we do with all this debris when it's collected? And these are pictures of debris caches around the state. St. George on the bottom right, that pile has been there for about a decade. And so part of this funding is to remove that, which will be really, really fun. And we'll celebrate the day we get that off island. But yeah, many caches of debris throughout the state. It's just expensive and hard to get off, to get out of these communities. So knowing this is a challenge and a priority for many communities in Alaska, this led Ocean Conservancy to apply for congressionally directed funding requests through Senator Murkowski's office. And we're very grateful to have been included in the 24 appropriations bill and awarded these funds to assist these communities in backhauling this debris to be properly disposed of and recycled elsewhere. And so the main goals of this project are to remove existing stockpile debris, which you just saw some pictures, examples of that. Remove debris in conjunction with planned cleanup. So Haines this year, after you guys do your cleanup, which is very exciting. Provide local jobs. We're hoping to work with a local fisherman out of Haines to backhaul this debris this year, which is exciting. And prepare a final report with lessons learned and recommendations for a sustainable model for this backhaul to continue in conjunction with cleanups. And so the idea of this project is to utilize existing vessels already transiting these routes from communities that are conducting cleanups to communities that have recycling facilities, so those being Anchorage, Kodiak, and Seattle. And most of our backhaul, planned backhaul is going to Seattle, where we are contracted with Nicole Baker, who will be speaking next, and she coordinates the transportation of the debris from Seattle to British Columbia at Ocean Legacy Foundation to be recycled. And we hope to use all sorts of vessels. You might have seen this flyer around town. We're trying to engage any vessels that are interested in this work, that are frequenting these routes, and that are passionate about this work and willing to do it for a discounted rate, so that it is a sustainable model for communities going forward. We're targeting a lot of fishing vessels, hopeful to use fishing vessels. We are working with barges to get discounted rates, and we've worked with some small tour companies as well that are heading back from their seasons. An example of that is we worked with Allen Marine Lines from Yakutat at their end of their season. They brought a big pile of these hard plastic buoys to Sitka to be reused by mariculture operations. And we hope to do more of that. They offered to help us again this year, which is amazing. But we hope to disperse more of these hard plastic buoys, which are hard to recycle, to mariculture operations for reuse. Okay, some of our upcoming work. Haines is listed on here. You guys will be our first backhaul of the season. And as I mentioned, we're working on contracting with a local fishing vessel to get that debris to Sitka. Sitka is set up as our regional southeast storage and sorting hub. So a lot of the small community debris goes to Sitka first, where there's a storage site. Your guys's will already be sorted, but it'll sit there until we can gather, a full container loads to go on AML south to Seattle. Similarly, we're working with Coeric in Nome. They are setting up a storage and sorting hub for their 18 communities that they're cleaning after Typhoon Merbok. We're very excited to backhaul all of that debris from St. George that's been sitting there for 10 years. That's planned for September, as well as St. Paul. And we're contracting with the Aleut community of St. Paul to coordinate locally for that. And then we have, let's see, 3 40-foot containers in Unalaska being sent to Seattle. Oh, sorry, I'm having some delays here when I click next slide. There we go. Okay, looking ahead, we're supporting several cleanups around the state this year listed on the slide. And then a more complete list of our backhaul communities on this slide as well. Already mentioned St. Paul, St. George, Nome, Sitka, Cordova, Tennecky Springs, Cake, 8 communities on Nelson Island, Unalaska, Kotlik, Yakutat. And we'll continue working with the Marine Exchange of Alaska. They've been wonderful in providing vessels that frequent these routes for us, and hoping they'll be connecting us with these vessels that might be interested in this work. So very excited to continue that partnership with them. And then, as I've mentioned already, just compiling this information for hopefully a sustainable model for backhaul in the future. Yeah, thank you. If you have questions now, I'm happy to answer them, but also feel free to email either myself for backhaul information or Christina for cleanup info. And yeah, I'll take questions now. And then I believe Nicole is next for the disposal part.
Anybody have any questions? Well, thanks, Hava. It's helpful, and I actually didn't know that you were working with so many communities. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's a lot of coordinating barge schedules and yeah, it's a lot.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, and then Hava, if you want to stop sharing, I can do
Yes.
mine. See if I can get this going here. Oh, I got it on the last one. Okay. You guys see this presenting mode?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Great. Yep. Okay. So my name is Nicole Baker. I started an organization called Net Your Problem in 2018, and we have been doing recycling of maritime waste since then. I have a bachelor's degree in marine biology that I got in Rhode Island, master's in fisheries from a university in Puerto Rico, so similar background to Hava, and ended up in this trash business. I worked as a fisheries observer in Alaska, so I did observing on boats in like Dutch Harbor, Kodiak, and Akutan, which is sort of what introduced me to this idea of net and line waste being an issue. I collected this end of life gear in 2017 with the support of a nonprofit while I was still working at a university. And so I originally, and our primary focus is on end of life gear, but we do also help out with marine debris because a lot of that in Alaska is fishing gear. And then sort of started my own business, which turned into a nonprofit now to sustain this work long term. And the idea for Net Your Problem was basically born from these sneakers that Adidas made in 2015 that were made out of confiscated gill nets from the Southern Ocean around Antarctica. And I used Twitter to say like, hey guys, I have some more nets from your shoes. And that didn't work out. There are no Alaska fishing nets in Adidas sneakers, but it is sort of what gave me the idea for this whole thing and introduced me to the fact that nets and all of that is even made out of plastic. I think it's pretty obvious when you look at a water bottle or a milk jug that you know that it's made out of plastic, but it wasn't for me as obvious with the nets until I heard about this recycling story. So the organization that I started, as I mentioned, was started in 2018, and we basically work on 3 different types of plastic fishing gear from around the United States. So we have operations in Alaska, the west coast of the US, and also the east coast. For those that aren't super familiar with the plastics, HDPE stands for high density polyethylene, which is number 2s, which is what plastic milk jugs are made out of. PP is polypropylene, that's number 5s, which like yogurt tubs are made out of. And then PA6 is nylon, which just is covered under number 7, which means other. And a lot of clothing is made from nylon. And so we work with local groups collecting fishing gear like the Haynes Friends of Recycling, and help them find places to send it, in addition to starting our own collection schemes. And when we're thinking about where we want to send stuff at the, where we want to dispose of it, we use this waste management hierarchy. So the stuff in the green at the bottom is our more preferred disposal options. Stuff at the top in red is least preferred. And basically, we try to reuse things if we can in art installations or sculptures or weaving mats out of recycled line. Then we also try to mechanically recycle, which is where you shred something up and melt it and turn it into little plastic beads or nurdles, if people have heard of that terminology. And then those nurdles are used in the manufacture of any kind of plastic products. We can also do advanced or chemical recycling, which is where you turn something back into oil by breaking all the chemical bonds and turning it into the petroleum product that it started from. You can also incinerate plastic to generate energy or fuels. So not really like Hava's example of having a bunch of super sacks and probably spraying gasoline on it and lighting it up. This is in like EPA permitted facilities where you incinerate something and then the steam produced from that runs a turbine that then generates electricity. We would say then that our next favorite is just straight up incineration without deriving electricity, because a lot of places have limited space for waste management. And then landfill is obviously preferable to leaving it on the beach, but then pulling it above the tide line is preferable to doing nothing. So when we're presented with an object to dispose of, this is the pyramid that we use to help guide our decisions. There are different versions of this. This is a values-based system. So this is the Net Your Problem version. I don't think we need to go into that too much. This is our general mission statement, which is to recycle end-of-life maritime plastics, improve waste management, contribute to the circular economy, and then reduce energy use and greenhouse gas emissions related to virgin plastic production. And I say here particularly contribute to the circular economy, because basically keeping materials in circulation for longer than one use is part of the circular economy. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're taking nets and turning them back into nets. So when we say the circular economy, we just mean keeping materials in circulation. And basically, because it was set up as a business first, and even now as a nonprofit, generating revenue is important so that we can keep doing these activities. So there's different sort of pathways where we make money. Users of the material can pay us to dispose of it. We then sort it, package it, and transport it, gets sent to the recycling company, and they pay us for those materials. And then we also get outside contributions from a variety of different industries, or now in this case, either personal or foundation or whatever donations, which if you're all about this and you want to donate, there's a link to do that on our website. This is the materials that I was talking about before. So the first one is the HDPE netting. All the way on the right is the polypropylene lines, and then gill nets and seines are both made out of nylon. And that was sort of what we started with. Now we're expanding to include marine debris as part of the categories of things that we can dispose of. Hava mentioned the recycler in Richmond, British Columbia, which is called Ocean Legacy Foundation. So they can process certain kinds of marine debris, and then it's be able to be used in manufacturing. So they have all these different netting, barrels, white styrofoam, tires with styrofoam in them, rope, beverage bottles, all these different items that they are able to accept. And so Hava and Tracy and I were all in Sitka earlier at the beginning of this month to do a sorting training where we're basically just dividing things up into what can be recycled and what can't. And really, there is a huge demand for this kind of plastic in the materials marketplace, because the people that are eventually making sunglasses or picnic tables or kayaks or whatever out of this have such a great story to tell their customers about where the plastic came from. And so in order to take advantage of this demand in the marketplace, it really is all about sorting, because I heard a description of this once that really resonated with me, but it's like if you go to the store and you want to buy a bag of sugar and you come home and that has 50% sawdust in it, you're pissed because you bought a bag of sugar. You didn't buy half sawdust and half sugar. So these recycling companies want a specific thing, and it needs to be sorted properly so that the plastic eventually that they are selling to the manufacturing companies is of high enough quality to make products. So the sorting part really is just so important. And then transporting, which Hava and Ocean Conservancy are helping with that, and then processing, which is Ocean Legacy's part of this program. And so I just wanted to tell a little bit of a story here about a project that we did in Washington State that kind of illustrates just all the different steps of this. So this is a picture of an oyster growing on a polypropylene line that is used in the aquaculture industry for growing the oysters. And how the oysters are harvested is basically that these lines are cut, and then you have this line that is growing through the shell, kind of. The shells are the oysters are harvested, and then the shells are discarded. So the shells end up being discarded with this line kind of grown through the shell. I don't know how familiar people are with oyster aquaculture, but then those shells are later used and put back out into the water to attract the baby oysters for the next year. And so what was happening is all of these pieces of yellow rope were washing up on the beaches once these shells sort of eroded and the ropes went free. So we did all of these sort of targeted cleanup things where all we collected was the yellow ropes. And one day in January, we collected 19,000 of them in just like a couple of hours. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a perfect thing for recycling. It's all the same color, it's all the same kind of plastic. And what a cool story this has in the manufacturing process. So went around, rented this box truck, like went around and collected all of these different bags of yellow ropes. And we sent them to Ocean Legacy, and they got turned into these pellets, which don't look yellow. They're kind of like a army greenish kind of color, because some of the ropes had a black tracer that went through that changed the color. But ultimately, we ended up with a couple 100 pounds of this plastic, and we turned it into a research project with a university in Washington, their plastics and materials engineering program. So the students learn how to make molds, which is this part right here that goes in an injection molding machine, which is basically how a lot of plastic products are made. And this is ultimately what was produced from it. And this is a crab gauge that is used to measure crabs to see if they're legal size to be harvested or not. So Washington Sea Grant purchased these crab gauges from us, and then they wrote about it on a blog or told other Sea Grant offices. So now we've made like a scallop sorter for Florida Sea Grant. We've made an oyster sorter for the Department of Health for Washington State. So there's all different kinds of applications. And when they pass these out at trade shows or booths or whatever, they make sure to highlight that story, and people just love it. So there really is a demand for that. And this is, yeah, just a picture of everybody at Western. And this was obviously in COVID times when we were still wearing masks. But a pretty cool sort of whole process of recycling where we collected the raw materials, it was processed into the pellets, and then turned into these useful products later on. So I think I'll skip this part here. And I just wanted to mention sort of where we're in operation around Alaska. So we've got, yeah, all these different places. We started in Dutch Harbor in 2017. Kodiak, Dillingham, King Cove, Cordova, Haines, Naknek, Homer, and then this year's target is to start a program in Sandpoint and in Sitka. And over the couple of years that we've been doing this, 8 years now, from all of our different locations, we've collected over 2.2 million pounds of gear and diverted that from the landfill in the environment. And I feel like under this nonprofit model, now we're just getting started. So we work with all these different organizations, ports, waste management, people that make nets, manufacturers, tribes, community groups, and all of that is to keep stuff out of the landfill. So I will leave my contact information here in case anybody is interested, along with some food for thought as we talk about beach cleanups. I'm just a very huge advocate for, yeah, we're doing things that provide value, and funding in nonprofit world is very difficult. So just wanted to leave that there for people to think about. And I'm happy to take any questions too.
Anyone on Zoom have any questions?
Is there a streamlined way of getting the weights and things off the nets?
I guess for certain types of nets. So when you are a seine fisherman or a gill net fisherman, you're very likely reusing the cork line and the lead line. Those are very expensive and don't wear out as quickly as the web does. So those are reused very often, can be up to 20 years for some seine netting, whereas the web is being replaced about every 4 years. So there's a lot of reuse there. Yeah, we're learning sort of like how to take things apart. Also, we do a big project every May in Seattle with the trawl fleet, where we stretch out their mile-long nets and figure out what materials different things are made out of and cut them with sharp Victorinox knives. I don't think there's really I don't know what the word is, like technical fancy solution for that. It just requires some grunt labor.
I just remember hearing that was one of the people didn't want to bother with that, so they didn't bother to recycle their nets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, if you're just going to throw out the whole thing, you wouldn't have to take it apart in order to throw it out. So it would be extra work associated with recycling, but that's just how recycling works. You can't give something that has metal and styrofoam and nylon and polyester and expect that it's going to be recycled. It has to be broken down into the different components. And if you're not into that, that's fine. You can take it to the landfill, but those are the requirements for our recycling programs.
Are the earrings you're wearing in that picture from marine debris?
They are actually, yeah, yep.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Nicole. We're
Mhm.
really excited that we'll be shipping our debris down to you this year.
Yeah, it'll be great.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. Well, we have a little break until 6 o'clock when we'll have Christina coming back for our data sorting training. So I know you two were here last night, so you don't have, it'll be the same presentation. So don't feel like you have to stay for it unless you want to really, fine tune your skills. And that's the same with all you folks on Zoom. Will be resuming at 6 o'clock.
Okay, sounds
All right.
great. Thanks for having us, Tracy.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Hava.
I'm just gonna pause the
Do
recording.
you have anything to report to us?
Oh, I thought you were presenting. Did you go first?
Yeah, we presented at 4:30.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yes, turn on my audio. Hi, Christina.
Hi.
Oh, maybe she could hear me through your computer.
No, I've got mine disconnected,
Oh.
but do you want the video one? I've got video over here.
Hi.
Hi, good to see you.
It's a beautiful sunny day here. So we don't have a
here
huge
too.
turnout. Oh, really?
Well, that-
Yay, it's so
yeah.
nice. Okay, well, I'm just going to give a couple quick announcements and then I'll hand it over to you.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so this is for all you Zoom folks and you who are here in person too. So I just want to say that the marine debris cleanup is run through Takshanuk Watershed Council in partnership with Chilkoot Indian Association, and all of our funding this year is coming from Alaska Sea Grant. So that's what's paying for a big part of that derelict crab pot removal project, which has been awesome, and then helping pay for all these beach cleanups too. And then we also partner with Ocean Conservancy, which has been great because they provide all of our gloves, these nice hats, this training. And this year they're also funding the backhaul of all of our debris so that we don't have to put it in the landfill, which is really exciting. But because of that, on May 16th, which is a couple Saturdays from now, and I know you guys will maybe not be here because of grandbaby, but those of you on Zoom who are listening, I do need volunteers to help with all of the sorting. So yeah, all of the marine debris that we collect over the next couple weeks will have to be sorted very specifically. Nicole kind of showed us our different piles there, or the different types of things that need to be sorted. We'll put in super sacks, and then we have a local fisherman who will be taking it down south for us, or down to Sitka, and then from Sitka they'll gather up marine debris and then send it down to Seattle and then British Columbia. So keep that in mind. If you volunteer for 2 hours, you get a free meal from Camino Food Truck. We'll be down there cooking up some delicious food. So, and hopefully I'm working on this still, but I think that we'll have a live band for part of it too. So this will be at the Small Boat Harbor from 10 to 7. You don't have to stay for the whole time, but come for 2 hours, help out for a little bit, enjoy some food and maybe some live music. Okay, so the other cleanups that are happening are, let's see, Thursday, May 7th, we'll be cleaning Battery Point and Kilgaya Point, and we'll meet at 10 o'clock at the trailhead. On Tuesday, May 12th, we'll be cleaning Twin Coves and David's Cove. So again, we'll meet at the gate. I haven't been over there, so I don't know if the gate's open. So if the gate's open, we'll meet at the trailhead. I'm thinking that this year with so much snow. I don't know, have you been over there?
No.
Okay.
We were there a couple of weeks ago and the gate was closed, but
Yeah.
now the snow is melting so fast.
Yeah.
I've opened it.
It might open. Okay. If it's not, though, we'll meet at the gate and we'll hike down. And then Chilkat Islands is on Saturday, May 9th. And so everybody who's here is going on that excursion. We're full. But if you're on the wait list, you might still get a chance because I've had a few people drop out. And then I'm also taking school groups out. I just had my second school group today. They cleaned Town Beach. And then yesterday, fourth graders went and cleaned at Chilkoot Estuary. On Monday, Cluck students will be going back out to the estuary. And they do a great job. They are really good at getting all the little microplastics, which I feel like is so good with like all this big migration coming through right now. Okay, I think those are all of the announcements that I wanted to share. So thanks so much for being here. And Christina Tierman is down in Sitka, and she is going to walk us through. She works with Ocean Conservancy, and she's going to walk us through how we collect data on our marine debris collection. So I'll hand it off to you, Christina.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. I am just going to share my screen. Can everyone see that?
Not yet.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
Maybe
we
just
can.
loading. Okay, wonderful. Great. Well, yes, thank you, Tracy, for the introduction. Thanks for letting me join this evening, and thank you to all of those who came on a sunny day. I know that's very difficult to do. I will keep this training pretty brief, but it's mostly just to give you an introduction to the data collection, why we do it, why it matters, what we do with the data. And then we'll do a little practice, which is always very helpful before going out into the field. And then if there's any questions at the end, we'll make sure that there's time for questions. But first, I will just briefly introduce myself so you know who I am and why I'm here sharing this information with you. So like Tracy said, my name is Christina Tierman. I'm based in Sitka. I have lived here for just over 10 years. I came here in 2015 as an AmeriCorps volunteer, and I was placed at the Sitka Sound Science Center. So I spent about 7 years working there as the education and marine debris coordinator. And in 2022, switched over to Ocean Conservancy, which is where I work now as the Arctic Marine Debris Manager. And so my focus is supporting communities and organizations throughout Alaska and the Arctic region on their marine debris projects. So getting to work with amazing people like Tracy and other cleanup coordinators around not just Alaska, but the Arctic and subarctic region, and then also connect those cleanup coordinators with each other to share information, best practices, challenges, things like that. And Ocean Conservancy is a 501c3 nonprofit. Our headquarters is in Washington, D.C., so we do a lot of ocean advocacy and policy on a number of different issues, but the main focus for myself and the team that I work on is on plastic pollution and marine debris. So our main marine debris program is International Coastal Cleanup, which has been going on for over 40 years. And this is a citizen science-based project where every year we get volunteers from around the world to go out and clean beaches and waterways in their communities, and then track through data collection what they're finding, and then report that back to us, which gets uploaded to our global database. So to date, over 19 million people have participated and have removed over 440 million pounds of trash. And the trash that you guys have collected in Haines during your cleanups is also is part of these numbers and is in our global database. And every year we publish a report that shows the top 10 items that were found globally. And then we also do that we can do that on a state-by-state basis, and we can do that even on a community level. And so we've been supporting your community and the Takshanuk Watershed Council in compiling the data from your cleanups every year and then producing these top 10 item reports. And these are extremely helpful in informing research and informing policy. So we have, a lot of our team at Ocean Conservancy is based in Washington, D.C. and does a lot of advocacy at the federal level and the state level. And they always want to know the numbers, what we're finding, if there are trends, are we finding the same amount and same types of garbage year after year, or is that changing? And so having this data is incredibly helpful for being able to showcase that. And this is what our global database looks like. I would encourage you to go check it out. And it's pretty cool to go see, different communities around the world, what types of data they're collecting, what they're finding, how much they're finding. And like I said, your data that you've collected in Haines is also reflected in this global database. And here are a few examples of some policies that have been informed or inspired using data that has been collected by volunteers around the world through the International Coastal Cleanup. So it ranges from, big international laws to community or state laws. So recently, some laws that went into effect were prohibiting mass balloon releases in Florida. That was a few years ago. And then things like the bag bans and bag fees. Those are common policies that come from looking at the International Coastal Cleanup data. And in Alaska right now, I know there's a state bill that's looking at banning the use of polystyrene foam in takeout containers. And so again, having the data for our state of like how much is this actually a problem here? Are we finding a lot of this during cleanups is really useful for educating policymakers and informing those policies. So here's a snapshot of your data for the last 3 years. So I've been involved in cleanups in Haines with the Takshanuk Watershed Council since 2023. And I know that your community's been doing cleanups long before that and has a lot of data on maybe overall weight of debris collected and some other data. But since 2023, we've been keeping pretty good track of the itemized data, which is what you guys are going to be doing on your cleanup. And you can compare year to year. You can see that the top item every year is the same. It's been the same thing consistently, has been other plastic waste, which is basically just plastic debris fragments that you can't really tell what it's from. So definitely find a lot of those. You can see always find a lot of food wrappers, the gun shell cartridges, bags, lots of foam, both like house insulation foam and dock foam. And then definitely always a lot of plastic bottles and bottle caps. But definitely interesting to see, the small differences year after year. I thought it was interesting that last year in the top 10 items was packing and strapping bands. And so again, being able to monitor and track this year after year, just super helpful in understanding maybe what's going on in your community and are things washing up from elsewhere, stuff like that. So it's been very fun to get to work with Tracy and others in Haines on these projects. So here's what the data card looks like, and we're going to walk through it because it's pretty straightforward once you get the hang of it, but it is a lot of categories, and so familiarizing yourself with it ahead of time makes it so much easier for when you're out in the field, so you're not kind of scrambling to try to find the different categories. So you guys are going to the Chilkat Islands. I know you're not going on May 1st, but I just picked that date. And we're going to fill out this form as if we're doing a cleanup at the Chilkat Islands tomorrow, May 1st. So the first part of the data form on the front side, which I think you guys probably all, you have them in front of you, so feel free to refer to them as I'm talking through this. We ask for just the basic information, your name, email, date of the cleanup, number of people in your group, and then the cleanup site description and site information. And this is really helpful and allows us, once it's in our database, to be able to compare it year after year, have the exact location. And then you saw that we always track the number of people that do the cleanups. And so making sure that you write down how many people are working on your data card in your group. So the whole cleanup itself might be, 25 people, but you're just writing down the number of people that are working on this card. And we recommend working in groups of 2 to 4 with one designated data collector because after 10 minutes or so, you really start to get the hang of it. And you can definitely switch up who's collecting data throughout the cleanup, but sometimes it's easier just to have one person who's in charge of that because by the end, they know where everything is. So that front side, you fill out just that top portion. The bottom are for post-cleanup comments, so don't worry about that until the very end of the cleanup. And then you can flip the data card over and we will go to the itemized data collection. And so first want to just point out some of the headers on this card. So we have a few different sort of overarching categories. We have fishing and aquaculture, personal hygiene and other debris, consumer goods and foodware, tiny trash. Those are microplastics, so that's anything less than 2.5 centimeters. And that little mark on the data card is the actual length. So you can use that to reference and figure out the size of an item. And then we have a section that says other items not listed. So that's where you could write in other things that maybe aren't on this card that you're finding a lot of, or that just stand out to you and you want to make sure to call out. So you can write that in there. One thing I feel like we always find during the cleanups there is like a milk crate or multiple milk crates. So I wrote that in as an other item not listed, and you could add tally marks to that as well. And then within each of these overarching categories, everything's listed alphabetically. And so that can help kind of orient you to the items there. So pretty straightforward. You just make tallies as you go. And then at the end of the cleanup, add everything up into that far column with the totals. For some categories, like the fishing gear, some of those items, it's easier to get a weight than it is to get an item count, especially if you find like a big bundle of like net and line that's all tangled up and you can't really tell how many different pieces of rope are in there. Helpful to have just a hanging scale, and you can get a weight on that and write down the weight instead of the item count. But we always say, just do your best. It's not going to be perfect. We're not, producing a scientific paper on this data. This data is meant to be citizen science collected. So of course we want it to be as accurate as possible, but we also understand that sometimes in the field when you're collecting data on debris, it can be challenging, especially if the conditions are not right. I was out doing a cleanup yesterday, and I don't know what the weather was like in Haines, but in Sitka it was blowing over 30 knots and pouring rain. So that made data collection very hard. So we ended up only collecting data for the first, 10 or 15 minutes of the cleanup. And then we just weren't able to continue. So again, just do the best you can. Any data is better than no data. I did want to, at the bottom of the data card, then when you're done, write the number of trash bags filled. And if you're keeping track, like on your phone or a watch, of how far you've cleaned, that's always kind of interesting to know. So you can add that in there. And if you do have a hanging scale and you want to know the weight of the trash that you collected, you can weigh it and write it in there, but we will get a total weight at the end of the cleanup of all the debris. So it's okay if you don't get a weight just on your debris there. And then this is where you would write in the post cleanup comments. So, anything on the cleanup that stood out to you that was either interesting or unusual, things that maybe you found a lot of. You'll notice on the data card, a lot of the categories are just pretty general. For example, like fishing nets and line and rope, we don't call out any specific gear types, but if that was something that you were finding a lot of long line gear or a lot of trawl net or seine net, and you wanted to make sure that that was documented, you could write that in under the post cleanup comments. Or if you find, any debris items that have life growing on them, a lot of times we'll find those pelagic gooseneck barnacles that are attached to marine debris, and that's always interesting to make note of. Usually it means that piece of debris traveled pretty far or was in the ocean for a long time. And then if there's any items that you weren't able to remove, maybe large tires or large pieces of waterlogged foam, you could just make note of that. And if you're able to get a lat long coordinate, write that down. That's really helpful. And I know in years past, we've done that. And then if possible, Tracy and crew or, others in the community who are willing to help out could go return to that spot and collect that debris with the appropriate equipment needed to get that out. If you find a dead or injured animal, you could write that at the bottom. And then if it is entangled, make sure that you make note of that. And then, of course, notify any local authorities that would need to be involved in that. And I did just want to point out some of the top 10 items from the last couple of years for you guys. I would recommend just looking over that sheet, the the top 10 list that we've published and find those items on the data card, maybe even put like a star next to them just so they're really easy to find and reference, because it's likely that you will find a lot of those items again this year. And so knowing where those ones are will make it a lot smoother and a lot quicker when you're actually collecting data. And so just wanted to put these back up on the screen for your reference to look at those top 10 items over the years, but I think Tracy has some in person as well, and these can also be emailed out if you wanted copies of these to look at before you go out in the cleanup. You can see we also always find a lot of microplastics, and so those can be very time consuming to pick up. And on the data card, you'll notice that there's not a ton of space, so sometimes it means when you're tallying, your tallies start to go up the side of the page. That's totally fine. You can also just write, if you're collected 100 microplastics, just write in the numbers instead of doing tallies as you're going. So I think Tracy has some items, and so we were going to just do a little bit of practice trying to find those items on the data card. And then if you guys have any questions as we're talking through those, I'd be happy to answer them. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christina. And for those of you who are here in person, the top 10 list from last year is on the table over there. So you're welcome to take a look at that.
Just want to make sure that you're in
okay.
the camera.
Or at least be able to see what I'm holding up. Okay, so we're going to do a little trial here. So I'm going to hold up some things and see if we can find them. This is something I feel like we find a lot of. Can you see that? Can I just make it so I can see myself? Yeah, that's helpful. You guys know what this is?
Yeah, it's around the boxes.
Yep.
It's one of those strapping.
Packing bands.
Appliances.
Yes.
You know.
Here in our packing strapping bands.
So is that under, so you have a headline, tiny.
No, it's right up here.
Headline for that one. I know where it is.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like there's the headline for personal hygiene and then there's tiny trash less than.
Yeah.
And then up here it has appliances.
Oh, okay. I think that's all part
Yeah.
of fishing aquaculture.
It's
Is that
it's
right?
all kind of, yeah, in like shipping industry related items. And
Oh,
that is something, yeah, we're hoping to change on the next iteration of our data card, is also have that title over there because that is a little confusing.
okay, got it.
Yeah.
Okay, next thing that we find a lot of.
Oh, candy wrappers.
Yeah, or food wrapper.
Food wrappers. So that's where were they?
For Nate and Mark, you'll just have to look at the online screen.
Down with bottom.
Yeah, food wrappers, candy, chips. Find a lot of these. It's a big one. Okay, here's a common thing. Plastic.
Oh, plastic. Okay, it looked like a fish.
It does kind of. It seems like it could be made into art. This is just our other plastic waste.
Okay.
And that one you have to tally small. I feel like I often tally up the center. 'Cause there's, I think that's been our top 10, number one for 2 years. Okay, another one that we find a lot of.
Oh, plastic bag.
Mhm.
That's a food bag. It's a food container, plastic. No?
It's this other bag's
Other bag,
plastic.
Okay. Okay, it's that same area that.
Yeah. How about this?
Oh, aluminum can.
But that's not what it's called on the sheet.
Okay. Beverage can.
Yes, it's called a beverage can.
Okay, beverage can.
Okay, how about one more common one?
Not plastic. That their beverage bottle, not a plastic bottle. Got it.
Okay. Hopefully those of you online felt confident in your ability to identify these things on our sheet here.
I want Maggie on my team.
Yes, she's solid. She's been doing it for a while. All right.
Great.
Well, did you want to share anything else with us? Yeah, go ahead, Christina.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, a lot of it is just kind of getting used to the wording of things, like Tracy was pointing out. And this is a card that we use internationally. So this is the one for Alaska, but our partners in Norway and Iceland and Greenland also use this. And so, yeah, some of the terms might seem a little bit different, and that's meant to make it a little more universal in that sense. So, yeah, and I don't know, Tracy, if we have time for the video.
Oh, that's right, the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we have time. Let's watch it.
Okay. And
It's 26.
Is that on this one or is Christina gonna be?
Do you want us to play it, Christina?
that might be better. I mean, I have it, I could pull it up, but I always worry about the like glitchiness, through a shared screen. I can certainly try it.
Yeah. Can you just share the link with me in
Is
the
it one that Matt
comments?
had
Oh, did he already have
already
it?
loaded up?
Oh, maybe he did.
Because then.
Yeah.
Mm,
Oh, I think it's here, actually.
yeah,
Oh, I think it's right underneath this bar.
of course it is.
Yeah, that's it. There it
This one?
is. Yes.
Perfect,
That's our
yep.
video. Can we play the volume
It'll take a little.
through? Okay, well, that's it. It's just music. So, yeah. Makes a little bit. Very well done. All right. Well, that was made by Patricia. I can't remember her last name, from Ocean Conservancy. That first year we did the cleanup, we got a whole bunch of people came up from Ocean Conservancy to help. Okay. Well, thanks, Christina.
Yeah, thank you.
Training.
And enjoy the sun.
Yes, thank you. You too. All right. Take care. And thanks
Bye.
everyone who came and joined us on Zoom.
Thanks,
We'll see you at the
Tracy.
cleanup. Yep. Thanks, Nate. All right. And thank you for being here. All right. And thank you for being here.
Thanks, Tracy.
All right. And then if anyone wants a hat, maybe I've already offered you guys, but please take a hat if you'd like one.